So the first chapter is creating customer relationships and value through marketing. In other words, we are just going to discuss introduction to marketing in this chapter. We're going to talk about what is marketing and why is it important. Basically, why are we studying? Why is this course? And why are we studying this course? That's what we're going to discuss in this chapter. Now, before we actually define marketing, before we talk about what really marketing is, we need to talk about the requirements for marketing to occur. So, in order for marketing to occur, and you might have you might already have some idea in your minds about what marketing is. And with that idea, we're going to talk about requirements for marketing to occur. And then later on, we'll really define what marketing is. Okay, your idea may or may not be exactly what marketing is, but we're going to discuss that later. So the requirements for marketing to occur are number one, there should be two parties with unsatisfied needs. So I'm assuming that your idea of marketing is when in your idea of marketing, there are two parties. That is, one is the seller and one is the buyer. So uh, that's the first requirement of marketing. That is, we need to have two parties, buyer and seller, to just, the simplified version, buyer and seller with unsatisfied needs. So buyer has some unsatisfied needs for which he's going to buy that product or service for, and the seller has some unsatisfied needs, which generally is related to money, related to the price of the product. So that's the first requirement, two parties with unsatisfied needs. The second requirement for marketing to occur is there should be a market. What does a market mean? That there should be people who desire the product or service that you're selling. So there should be desire, and not just desire, but these people should also have the ability to buy the products. So desire you is not enough, because I might desire, let's say, an airplane, but do I have the ability to buy an airplane? No, I don't. So I am not a market for the airplane manufacturers, because I do have the desire, but I don't have the ability. Now, what if I had the desire? Of course, I have to have the desire to buy the product, and I had the money to buy an airplane. Okay, what if I had the money to buy an airplane, but I don't have the authority to buy it? Even then, I am not the market for that seller. We can also take an example of um, alcoholic beverages. Uh, People, or we can say potential customers, uh, who are below the age of 21, can have the desire to buy those products, but and they can also have money to buy the products, but they do not have the authority to buy alcoholic drinks. So even the people who are of less than 21 years of age, even though they have the desire and the money to buy alcoholic beverages, they are still not a market for these companies, because they don't have the authority to buy it. So market has to have a desire, of course, that's the first thing, a desire, plus the ability, which includes authority and money to buy or to satisfy their needs. Okay, so that's the second requirement. The third requirement is a way for the parties to communicate. How does the consumer let the buyer know? How does the consumer let the seller know that he or she or they want the product. Okay. And how does the seller let the consumers know that they have the product that the consumers desire and have the ability to purchase? So there has to be a way for these two parties to communicate with each other about their unsatisfied needs. That is, one, the seller has to let the consumer know that they have that product, and the consumer has to let the seller know that they need that product. Okay, and we are talking about marketing, and this all of this is when we're going to define marketing, this is all going to fall into place at that time. So we have to have a way for the parties to communicate with each other. And the last thing is they both need to have something to exchange, right? That's important. They need to have something to exchange. The seller needs to have the product or the service they're offering, and the buyer needs to have mainly money these days or whatever they have in exchange of the product that they need. So these are the four requirements for marketing to occur. Two parties with unsatisfied needs, a market, a way for parties to communicate, and the last one is something to exchange. Let's go to our next slide. And here I'm just going to show you a few famous personalities or famous marketers, as I should say, um, who I don't know if you can, who you may or may not recognize them. I'm sure you will recognize some of them. And I'll pause here for a few seconds for you guys to see and see if you can recognize this person. So this guy is David Karp. He is the founder of Tumblr. You might have heard about this. Um, and David basically started Tumblr when he was 21 years old. So basically, just trying to give you an idea of how soon you can become a marketer. He started this he started this company when he was 21 years old, and currently his net worth is $200 million. Next, we have this guy, Blake Ross, who's the creator of Mozilla Firefox. And Blake was just 19 years old when he launched Firefox, and his current worth is $150 million. Next up, and I think you might know who this guy is, Justin Bieber, singer and performer. He was 15 years old when he started this um, career, I would say, and his current worth is $285 million. And the last in our on our slides is Mark Zuckerberg, founder of Facebook, and he started this business when he was 19 years old, and his net worth, current net worth is 100 and I'll say almost $120 billion. So these were just to give you an example, just to give you, just to show you how you can just be 15, 19, and or 21 to just start the business and or not start business like Justin Bieber, be a performer, or just basically be good at marketing. So just to give you an example of how these guys were very really good marketers, and the fact that we know about these guys or we know about the companies that they have founded is proof enough to show that you can start marketing at a very early age and still be very good at it. Now at this point, we're going to do this activity. This is your activity number one. I'm going to pause here for a minute for you guys, or you can pause the video here and write answers somewhere, write answers to those questions. So what you're supposed to write is think of a product that you bought recently and write it down over there in your notebook or somewhere. And then number two is which brand or company does this product belong to? Write that. What is the price range of this product? um, which store or stores is this product available in, the ones that you know of. How did you first get to know about this product? Will you buy this product from the same company again? Why or why not? So please pause the video for some time here. Write the answers to this activity and turn this in later on Course Connect. Once you're done with this, we can move on, and we will basically we're going to define marketing here. This is American Marketing Association definition of marketing. American Marketing Association is the biggest association in the US for marketing, and they basically keep revising the definition from time to time, and this is the latest that we have now. So marketing is an organizational function and a set of processes for creating, communicating, and delivering value to customers, for managing customer relationships in ways that benefit the organization and its stakeholders. So what we're going to do is we're going to divide this definition, and we're going to pick up basically keywords from this definition, and we're going to discuss them in detail. So the first keyword that we're going to pick from here is function. Marketing is an organizational function. So in order to understand what we mean by that, we need to look at this picture here, which basically depicts this thing here, shows us the organization. We can see in the middle that circle is the organization. This is being the circle is representing the whole organization. Now, if you look at that big circle where it's written the organization, you have different departments in an organization, and in the middle you have management. So there's a management of the whole organization, and in the organization you have different departments like research and development, human resources, information systems, marketing, finance, manufacturing, and also management. So you can see that marketing is one of those departments, or in other words, we can also call it that it is an organizational function, because that's one of the functions that organization has to perform. Now, if we look at um, the society that's coming in and going out of the big circle, the organization, we see that the society consists of other organizations. So while you are running your own organization, there are other organizations that are running in parallel, and they impact you and you kind of impact them. Okay, the same way you have suppliers. Suppliers are in again coming in and going out, which means suppliers impact the organization impacts the suppliers back. Then you have shareholders or owners, and you have customers as a part of the society. At the bottom, you can see the environmental forces, the social, economic, technological, competitive, and regulatory. We have a separate chapter on this. We're going to discuss these later on. But basically, these are environmental forces that are external to your organizations. You also impact them, and they impact you. And we're going to, as I said, we're going to discuss all of that later. Right now, what we want to focus on is that it's a big organization where marketing is just one of those departments or functions of an organization. And we can read again at the bottom, marketing is an organizational function. And we'll just stop there and move on to our next big keyword, which is customer value. What is customer value? It's the unique combination of benefits received by targeted buyers that includes quality, price, convenience, on-time delivery, and both before sale and after sale service. So what we are talking about here is we're going to understand this with the help of an example. So we have in front of us, this picture is basically the first cell phone that was made by Motorola and the first cell phone call that was made with this Motorola was made on April 3rd, 1973. So this was the first cell phone ever that was made by Motorola, which was basically launched after a decade of its manufacturing. That is, it was launched in 1983. It was size of a brick and weighed as much as a pineapple. And now you can imagine how heavy and how big this cell phone was. Um, and its original price was $4,000. So at that time, when when this was the first cell phone ever made, these guys, Motorola, could charge $4,000 for this brick-sized pineapple weighing thing, and it was okay. It was completely okay. Everybody was ready. The customers were not everybody, just the target customers. The target customers were ready to pay the price. They were okay with paying price of $4,000 for this big giant thing because that's what they valued at that time. It's all about customer value. Customer value, again, is the unique combination of benefits received by targeted buyers. So at that time, the target buyers did see benefits um, and did see benefits in buying this phone. They valued the benefits it was giving them because it was the first cell phone ever. So, of course, they see some value in it. That includes quality, price. So, you see, the price has to match, of course, has to match the quality and convenience. So, at that time, it was really convenient for these guys to use that cell phone, because it was a comparison to the regular traditional phones that people used to have at homes with the wires and all. They couldn't move with those phones. These were really not mobile. They had to stay at one place. The traditional phones at that time. So this particular Motorola cell phone was convenient for people at that time, and now we have added on-time delivery, and this wasn't, I think, really a big deal in those days. But now we have added on-time delivery. We want on-time delivery of these products, and both before sale and after sale service. We want people to be with us before the sale, and we also want them to be, as again it has been added later on, we want these people, we want these sellers to be with us after sales have been made as well. We want to be in touch with them if we have any problems. We want to get back to them. We find customers find value in all of these days. So customer value, again, is the unique combination of benefits received by targeted customers that includes quality, price, convenience, on-time delivery, and both before sale and after sale service. Again, talking about marketing, going back to marketing definition. What is marketing? It's an organizational function. Remember, it's an organizational function and a set of processes for creating, communicating, and delivering value. We're talking about customer value. So we want to create the value, we want to create value, we also want to communicate value. And remember, we talked about requirements for marketing to occur, and we talked about how communication is important. There should be a way to communicate. So that's what we are talking about. We're talking about creating value and then being able to communicate that value to customers and physically deliver that value to the customers. Okay, so that part. And we say set of processes for creating, communicating, and delivering value to customers, and for managing customer relationships. And this part is the after sales service part, where we say that we don't want to stop at just delivering value to customers, but we want to take it further. We want to take our relationship with the customers further, and we want to really manage uh, uh, our relationship with the customers. We want to be in relationship with the customers and not just stop at selling. So for managing customer relationships in ways that benefit the organization and its stakeholders. Of course, at the end, we have to make profit. We have to, or at least we can say, let's not say we have to make profit, because marketing can also be for non-profit organizations, but we have to be in business. Whatever it is, we have to be in business. Whether we make profit, we do not make profit, or whatever we do, but we have to be in business. And that's why we want to do all of this, that is creating, communicating, and delivering value and managing customer relationships. We want to do all of this while also benefiting the organization and the stakeholders. Okay. So how does marketing discover and satisfy consumer needs? Because we are saying that we want to satisfy consumer needs. So how do we discover those needs? What's a way for us to discover consumer needs? The One of the ways to do that is by customer surveys. That is, we give these questionnaires, and I'm not sure if you guys have ever filled up these surveys or not, but these are I'm sure that you have come across these surveys in your purchases, or sometime in some situations, some events, you might have come across these surveys which you have to fill, which might ask you to, for example, in this picture, they say quality of service is excellent, good, average, poor, and so on. So we can discover consumer needs by asking consumers to fill a survey for us. We can also discover consumer needs by crowdsourcing. What is crowdsourcing? And let me see if we can watch a video. Okay, now let me click it. So basically, crowdsourcing is when you ask the crowd um, about ideas. So you source your ideas from the crowd. And basically this video that I was trying to play here, Walkers and Do Us a Flavor, was a crowdsourcing idea that Walkers, which is basically similar to Lay's chips, that they had come up with, and they had asked people, they had come up with this campaign where they were asking customers, they were asking people about the flavors that they would want Walkers to introduce. So that's crowdsourcing. You're asking people about the ideas for your product. Obviously, you need to have a creative knack of doing that, wherein people would want to get involved, and will people would want to give you some ideas, and at the same time, while you're getting those ideas from people, you're kind of also communicating to them what your about your product. You're kind of also convincing them to buy your product. You're kind of also building a relationship with the customers. So this is crowdsourcing is a way where you can discover consumer needs by really just asking them about their needs. Okay, so that's one way. And the next one is meeting consumer needs with new products. Here, I want to spend some a few seconds on um, discussing the difference between needs and wants. So, the basic needs that any human being has is food, water, shelter, clothing. These are the needs. You need to eat because you get hungry. But what are the wants? Wants are, I want to eat a burger. That's a want. You need to eat, but you want to eat a specific product or a specific brand of product. Clothing can be considered a need, but want is buying a particular brand of clothing, or you know buying a particular a specific type of clothing can be want. So meeting consumer needs with new products, what we try to do is we try to meet the consumer needs, as we say it, but actually also try to create new wants for the consumer. So we've come up with new products and try to create new wants for consumers. So we did not, and we talked about Motorola cell phone. We did not need a cell phone back then. It wasn't a need. It has kind of become a need now. And that's why we say meeting consumer needs with new products. So we are kind of trying to um, convert these wants into needs with, and we try to meet these needs or wants, whatever you want to call it, with new products. So cell phone these days has become a need and not really a want, um, because this new product, that is new cell phone, was introduced in the market, and now the children who are born with that product already around them, and they feel that it's a need for them. And that's what we try to do through marketing. We try to meet those consumer needs with new products. Satisfying consumer needs. So, in order to satisfy those consumer needs, we have to talk about the 4 P's of marketing. I don't know if you have heard of this before or not, but this is what you'll have to remember for a long, long time. If you're trying to pursue a career in marketing, you have to remember this for lifetime, that there are 4 P's of marketing: product, price, place, and promotion. And these 4 P's are called the components of marketing mix. And we'll come to that later at some point of time in our course, that why do we call them marketing mix. But right now, what you have to remember is that there are 4 components of marketing mix. These are 4 P's: product, price, place, and promotion. These 4 P's are basically a part of your organization. These are your controllable factors, which means that you need to control these 4 P's in order to satisfy consumer needs. You need to, when we say you need to control the factors, it means that you need to work on those factors. You need to focus on these 4 P's in order to satisfy consumer needs. And I'm going to go back here for a minute to our, okay, it's not allowing me to do that, but anyway, so we are, I'm going to go back here, discussing your activity that you just did. We talked about all the points that we talked about there, and if you look at that activity, you'll see that um, we discussed these 4 P's. We discussed about the product, we discussed about what price it had, we discussed about the place that you bought the product from, and we also discussed about where did you hear about that product, which is promotion. So all those 4 P's consist of marketing or are part of marketing, and and we have to put them all together and try to try to focus on these because we can control all of these, and controlling all of these is basically at the end going to satisfy consumer needs. Next is the uncontrollable factors, which is the environmental factors, economic environment, competitive environment, technological environment, social and cultural environment, and political and regulatory environment. These are uncontrollable factors. We do not want to control them. We cannot control them. We should not even try to control them. But these factors all impact our organizations, and the arrows that you see here depict that all of these impact our organization, and we in turn can also impact this environment. But what we have to understand is that these are uncontrollable factors, and we'll discuss these in detail. As I said before, we'll discuss these in detail they have their own chapter. We're going to discuss it there. But right now we should know that these are uncontrollable factors. We should not even try to control them. So how did marketing become so important? When did marketing become important, and how did it become important? So in order to understand that, we need to look at the four eras in the history of marketing. So in from 1920s, prior to 1925, to be specific, was the production era, which, as you can see here, is the bottom bar, which says a good product will sell itself. In the production era, what used to happen is um, the companies just used to produce the products as per their own requirement, as per their own convenience, and then the the idea was that a good product will sell itself. So you just try to make a good product and it's going to sell itself. For example, in the production era, Ford and Henry Ford, who was the founder of Ford, um, and this is his famous dialogue: any customer can have a car painted any color he wants as long as it's black. Basically saying that we're not going to produce any other colored car except for black. And this he said when their Model T in 1909, the Model T got very famous. It was very, everybody was wanting to buy that particular model, and that's what they said. They said that we're going to only produce it in the color black and no other color. Why? Because there were not many producers at that time. There were not many manufacturers at that time as the customers. And that's why they could do it. They could just say that we're going to produce what we want to produce and it's just going to sell itself. Next came the era of sales era from 1920 to 1950 was the sales era, in which the belief was that creative advertising and selling will overcome consumers' resistance and convince them to buy. The second bar from below, from bottom, which basically meant that you could just produce a commercial. It had changed. The production, it wasn't the production era anymore. So people were not buying products on their own. They were supposed to be convinced by the producer that you should buy our car, and only then they would buy the products. So that was sales era. The thought was that you can produce a commercial, you can create a commercial, tell consumers about the benefits, tell them about what the product is, and they will buy it. That was sales era. You just need to convince the consumers that you have to buy the product and they're going to buy it. Next came the marketing era, which is the third bar from bottom, Since 1950s, it says the consumer is king. Find a need and fill it. That is the marketing. That's the era that we are right now in. That is that is the product is not going to sell by itself. Of course, it's not production era anymore. The product is also not going to sell just by convincing consumers that you have to buy the product, but you have to first start by finding a need. You're not going to produce first. You're going to first find consumers' need. First, try to find what are the unsatisfied needs of the consumers, work on them, produce a product, and then try to sell it to the consumer. So marketing is different than sales because in sales you start with production and try to convince consumers to buy. However, in marketing, you start with the consumer, start with asking consumers what do they need, and then try to fill that need because consumer is the king. And right now we are in also in the topmost era that it says, which is customer or customer relationship, which basically says long-term relationships lead to success. So currently we are in the combination of marketing and customer relationship era, where we want to try to first find a need, then fill it, and also just not stop at that point, not stop at filling the need, but continuing the relationship with the customer because long-term relationships lead to success. So what led to the rise of marketing? Shift from seller's market to buyer's market. There was seller's market. There were more sellers than, there were more buyers than the sellers. Now there are more sellers than the buyers. So there's so much competition. There used to be shortage of goods. Now there is abundance of goods. So there are less number of buyers as compared to the sellers, and that's why we had to focus on marketing. We had to focus on first studying consumer need and then trying to fill it. This is caused by competition in marketplace. As I said before, competition increased because of the shortage turning to abundance. And when did it happen? It happened in 1950s. And why 1950s? Because of the post-World War II expansion of prosperity. People started getting back their, started prospering, started getting better. And, that's why this shift to marketing. How marketing became so important, the breadth and depth of marketing, who markets, what is marketed. We are going to discuss all of this. So who markets? Organizations market, right? Organizations like Apple, like P&G, like Microsoft, all of these organizations, they can market. Who else markets? Retailers market, like Walmart. Walmart is a retailer. Macy's, JCPenney, all of these retailers can market. Services like restaurants, like hotels, like Holiday Inn, all of these services can market. And also non-profit organizations. For example, Mississippi Children's Museum is a non-profit organization. They can also market. Places, for example, you'll see these advertisements of different places. So let's say Explore Colorado. This is a place that is being marketed here. The places can be marketed. Ideas can be marketed. For example, these ideas of saving paper or saving animals or, domestic violence. All of these ideas can also be marketed. Um, Celebrities can be marketed, whether uh, it's the movie celebrities or the politicians can be marketed, or basically people can be marketed. And who buys and uses what is marketed? There are two types of consumers. One is ultimate consumers, and the second one is organizational buyers. We also call these C2C, which is customer to customer, and B2C, which is business to customer. So sorry, I did it all wrong. It's B2C, that is business to consumer, and B2B, which is business to business. So ultimate consumer is when you are selling to the consumer. So business to consumer, B to C. And organizational buyers is when you're selling to different buyers or to the organization or to the businesses. So business to business, which is B to B. So who buys and uses what is marketed? It can be the ultimate consumer, or it can be the organizational buyers. Who benefits? The organizations benefit, right? Effective individual organizations benefit. The uh, the companies, the organizations, the businesses that are selling their products, of course, they benefit. And we say effective organizations because we say that if they are doing it all right, then they benefit. The society benefits. How does the society benefit? If the organization, if there's a business that's in working condition, it can have various benefits for the society. One, it generates employment. Two, it's giving uh, it has all of those products. By having all of those products and services available to the customers, or available to the people, this it benefits the society overall, right? The society takes advantage of all of these products and services, and it can benefit them. And at the end, the customer benefits, right? The customer benefits because the marketing takes care of the needs of the customers, and it offers the products or services that really consumers desire, that the consumers need or want. So organizations benefit, society benefit, and the customers benefit. Now, how do consumers benefit, or how do the customers benefit? They benefit by utility. What does that mean? Form utility, time utility, place utility, and possession utility. And we'll talk about these one by one. The first one is form utility, which is basically in its own form, the product or the service that the organization is offering them in its own form. The product, by being itself, benefits the consumer because marketing starts from what consumers need. So if consumers needed something and the organization made it available to the consumers, the product in its own form is a utility for the consumers that benefits the consumers. The next one is um, place utility, which means that when you're offering the consumer that product that they need at a place um, that they want it to be at, so you're making it available at a place where the consumer needs it, is place utility. So you don't have to travel, you don't have to go anywhere else to get that particular product. That's place utility. Time utility means that when you're making it available when the consumer needs it, that's time utility. And possession utility is you make it easy for the consumers to purchase the product. That is, these days you have credit cards or some other financial arrangements that consumers can pay whatever they have to pay to the company. By making it easier for consumers to pay using those credit cards or debit cards, or whatever way they want to, or cash, whatever way they want to pay, that's possession utility. So that's how consumers benefit. form utility, place utility, time utility, and position utility. And that finishes our first introductory chapter of marketing. And this is what we have learned from the chapter: marketing and requirements for marketing to occur, how marketing discovers and satisfies consumer needs, marketing mix elements, which are basically those 4 P's: product, price, place, and promotion, and the external and uncontrollable environmental factors. We also talked about building strong relationships and customer value through marketing. We talked about 4 eras of marketing: production, sales, marketing, and customer relationship, and how marketing creates utilities for consumers. The utilities being form utility, place utility, time utility, and position utility. And that finishes our chapter.